Hi students, this video is going to describe the process you'll go through while doing the activity of drawing a crumpled up piece of paper. This activity is meant to show that you can draw pretty much anything. It doesn't have to be something precious. It also helps you make your drawing less precious, because we'll be focusing on a type of drawing called modeled drawing. And the way I do it in this drawing is similar to the way Kimon Nicolaides did in The Natural Way to Draw. So we have this book here, The Natural Way to Draw, and Nicolaides describes in this book modeled drawing. And let's see, so this might be the way you might start a modeled drawing of a figure. And this is a modeled drawing of a figure. And he has an elephant that someone drew as a modeled drawing and this paper towel. So he describes modeled drawing as working with clay, but the idea here is that we're going to be focusing on the parts that are dark and the parts that are further away, accentuating them more and more and more. So you see that this practice drawing that I did before filming, the darkest parts are really dark. You also see that it doesn't look exactly like what you see in front of you. And that's because I was really focused on this being a process piece. This is something that I'm doing to understand the form, not to replicate the form. How is that different? It's different in your mind. The way you interpret that is the way you interpret that, okay? So, to start with, we take, and this is where the activity starts, we take a piece of paper and we crumple it up so that there are some nooks and crannies, and so that the light will hit it and create quite a bit of value. I made this setup so that I just have a darker background. That's going to help me view, I don't even remember which way is up on this. I think this way's up. See how the background is dark? It kind of helps me define the form while I'm creating it. So that's my little sample there. So I'm not going to move this. I'm going to do kind of a similar thing that I did before. But I have my light source set up so that I have a very direct light aimed right at the crumpled up piece of paper. And let me see if I can just adjust a little bit so that we can see everything. I think that's going to be good. Okay. So I've got my light hitting, and I'm going to start my drawing with a layout pencil, and then to cut down on the amount of time sharpening the layout pencil as it runs out of lead, I'm going to shift over to a graphite stick, which I just have hanging around. If you have one, great, use the graphite stick. If you don't, then keep using the layout pencil. And this layout pencil is just an extra black, nice soft lead, so it's going to be easier to replicate my form. So remember that I'm drawing from a slightly different angle than the camera is. At the same time, you're going to notice that this is not going to be perfect. So what I want to do is start in kind of the center of, I'm starting in the center of the form, and I'm looking at the darkest parts and kind of burrowing into the paper. So I'm thinking of this as though it's clay. You see that I'm I'm really bringing I'm trying to draw as though I'm drawing shapes instead of lines. So got a dark part there, got this dark part there, got this dark part there, and I'm starting to understand the form. I'm really accentuating things, and I'm exploring the form rather than replicating it. Okay? So I don't want to go too dark too quickly, but I also don't want to have kind of this precious worry about messing up the drawing. Because if you're having a precious worry about messing up the drawing, you're going to have a hard time getting to a modeled drawing. It's going to take so long. So I'm going to shift to a graphite stick, and that's simply so that I can speed up the process while you all are watching me. So even with the graphite stick, I'm still drawing these abstract shapes. I'm not drawing, I'm not thinking about making this look like a piece of paper, a crumpled piece of paper. I'm just replicating these shapes, looking at them and trying to understand how they feel. So in that way, it's like a gesture drawing, understanding how something feels, understanding how it feels if it's in the palm of your hands, if your pencil is actually sculpting the form. So I'm going to start kind of bringing in the dark background so that I can understand the form a little bit better. And I have a feeling that this drawing will end up looking completely different than my other one, and that's okay. I find that modeled drawing, sometimes it ends up looking so realistic you can hardly believe it, and other times it's just like, what was I drawing? So you really want to kind of think about each little bit and make sure that everything's looking still the way it should. Think about each place that you touch on the paper, and if it's a very light value, just don't touch it. If it is a medium value, then touch it lightly with the pencil. And if it's a dark value, then I keep using the word burrow, but I feel like I'm like a chipmunk digging in the ground, or a dog digging in the ground, like that frenzy that an animal gets when they're digging into the ground and uncovering the muck. And as you go, things kind of emerge. It kind of starts to look like something. Got some dark there. And there are places that you'll start thinking to yourself, oh, this looks exactly like what I'm trying to achieve. And then there are other places where you'll be like, what in the world is that? And that is okay, because this is about an exploration. It's not about perfection. So remember, we're thinking about this as though we're sculpting with clay. And you can set up, you might watch this drawing through, and then you might set it up and listen to me talking as you draw from your own setup. I find that my students, when I'm teaching in person, it seems as though I'm kind of like a yoga instructor, kind of talking people through things and reminding them what to think about and how to hold their pencil. So that's what I try to do on these videos. So think about your pencil as though when it's got a dark value, you're pressing down harder. When it's a middle value, you press down lighter. And when there's a light value, then you don't press down at all. You don't touch it. There is, this part's hard for me to get because of the angle that I'm drawing at. There we go. But that's really good actually, because it also helps me be less precious with the drawing, so that I'm not drawing like this perfect line drawing. I'm drawing something that has more, it's an exploration, okay? As though I haven't said that enough. This is about an exploration. It's about process rather than outcome. So this is a start, okay? This is a start. You notice that I'm not using an eraser. The reason for that, it looks so funny, doesn't it? Anyway, things look very, very different on the camera than they do in real life. And I notice how different my drawing looks to the thing in front of me. So the reason I'm verbalizing that is that there is this conversation that goes on in your head while you're drawing, where you think, okay, I see it, I'm drawing it, I see it, and what happened? And then you try to get it back, but then it falls away. In model drawing, we don't bring in an eraser. So the reason we don't bring in an eraser is so that, again, it doesn't feel too precious, and you don't feel like you're making this master drawing. You're making an experiment, not an experiment, you're making a study, an experiment. It's a deep study of what is in front of you. It's a different way of seeing, and hopefully, you know, you get a little exercise in your arm, and as you go forward and forward, things start to look more and more realistic. So that is the video. Feel free to rewind it, watch it again. Feel free to adjust as you need to. Feel free to email questions to me. And hopefully we'll have some really great examples on the discussion board. Let's see. So one thing I want to remind you of is that you're going to take a photo of your finished drawing, and you're going to take a photo of your drawing setup. If you think of it, in the middle of your drawing, take an in-process photo, okay? But a lot of times it's easy to forget that. I'll try to, with our finished drawings, it'll be easier to remember that because it's a specific thing on the discussion board. And it's not so quick, like this is done in 10 minutes, it's very quick. So on the discussion board, you'll have a few different photos so that we can see what you were drawing and all that kind of stuff. Okay, thanks for watching.